Welcome back to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get you the essentials, the stuff that makes you, genuinely well informed. Today, we're looking at something that could seriously change your career, maybe even your life. We're doing a deep dive into the path for international medical graduates, IMGs, wanting to practice medicine in Singapore. Our mission, not just listing steps, but really getting into the why, pulling out those surprising bits from our sources that make a complex process feel clear, actionable, maybe even exciting for you. And honestly, the benefits: great salaries, a really clear pathway. It makes Singapore look, well, pretty compelling compared to somewhere like the US.
That's a really good way to put it. Singapore is definitely an excellent option. And you're right, it's not just the salary, though that's impressive. What lots of doctors find appealing, based on what we've seen, is how clear the path is. Once you actually understand the requirements, that is. It's not like, some systems that feel like a total maze. The Singapore Medical Council, the SMC, they have this clear five-step roadmap for direct registration. It might seem tough at first, but it means the journey is, well, predictable, more so than, say, the whole USMLE marathon in the States. So yeah, we're going to break down each step, give you the details you need.
Okay, let's dive in. First things first, and this is a big one: your basic medical education. Our sources are crystal clear here. You absolutely must have graduated from a university that's specifically listed by the Singapore Medical Council, the SMC. It's not just red tape, it's about quality control for their healthcare system. It's top notch, right?
Absolutely.
Think of it as the main gatekeeper. So, for example, if you're coming from India, the list includes places like AIIMS Delhi, CMC Vellore, AFMC Pune. Very specific. The guide we looked at spells it out: graduates from other unis, not eligible for direct registration, period. So what happens, practically speaking, if your university isn't on that list?
Yeah, that's a critical point. And honestly, it's where a lot of IMGs hit their first big wall. If your uni isn't on the SMC list, direct permanent registration, that's off the table. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean, game over for practicing in Singapore entirely, but it likely means a different route. Probably longer, maybe more complex, like going through residency programs there or getting specialist training recognized later. So
Mhm.
step one absolutely is check that SMC list. Okay, beyond the degree, there's the clinical experience. Our sources say you need at least 3 years post-internship. But here's the catch. It's not just how long. It's where and what kind of experience. It must be in an acute hospital setting.
Right, acute hospital setting. That sounds quite specific. What does that actually mean? Why is that distinction so important? Because I bet some doctors figure any hospital experience should count.
Good question. They say acute hospital setting. They mean hands-on, high-pressure environments. Think emergency departments, ICUs, busy surgical wards, inpatient medical wards,
Hmm.
places where patients are admitted for, serious, urgent stuff, where you're making quick decisions, diagnosing fast, managing critical care daily. It's not really about long-term rehab or, say, purely elective clinics.
Okay.
And the why is pretty straightforward. Singapore's system is efficient, demanding.
Hmm.
They need doctors who can basically hit the ground running, handle acutely ill patients under pressure. And crucially, this experience needs to be as a medical officer or equivalent, a substantive role.
Not just an intern.
Exactly. Not just shadowing or rotating without real responsibility. Our sources suggest some IMGs, maybe from systems where junior roles are different, struggle to show this. So clear documentation of your duties, vital. You need proof you are managing patients, making calls, not just watching.
That makes total sense. Competence under pressure. Okay, so you've got the right degree, the right kind of experience. Next up, communication, strong English. Our sources say is not just nice to have, it's a must, non-negotiable. And they give you options to prove it: IELTS, TOEFL, or the OET, the Occupational English Test. But the standard is high, really high. IELTS,
Yeah.
7.0 in every section: listening, reading, writing, speaking.
Every single one.
TOEFL, at least 100 overall and 25 minimum in each part. OET grade B across the board. These are tough scores. Why set the bar so high?
Well, those high English standards, tough as they are, come down to patient safety and just the demands of clinical work there. Medical communication is subtle, isn't it? Especially in a diverse place like Singapore. It's more than just chatting. It's precise terms, explaining things hypothetically to patients, clear handovers to colleagues, accurate notes, often when things are stressful.
Right, a small mistake could be serious.
Exactly. Now, interestingly, our sources suggest that for many doctors, the OET might actually be the most practical test, even with the high score needed, because it's designed for healthcare folks. The test scenarios, the language, it's all about clinical communication, patient interactions, medical writing. So preparing for OET is kind of like direct prep for the job itself in English.
Ah, that's a really useful distinction. So OET prep is more directly relevant. Okay. So you've passed the English test. Now comes the personal bit, the interviews. What should IMGs expect here?
Typically, it's a two-stage process, from what our sources say. First, usually an interview with an SMC-approved recruitment agency. They act as a sort of first filter, make sure candidates meet the basics, maybe check for cultural fit before sending you on to the hospitals.
Okay.
Pass that, and then you interview directly with the hospital. That might involve senior doctors, department heads, HR people. Now, here's a really practical point, a big plus. These interviews, especially the early ones, often done via Zoom or similar platforms.
Oh, this is huge.
Yeah, means you don't necessarily have to fly to Singapore just for an interview. Saves a lot of time, a lot of money.
Definitely.
But it's worth remembering, remote interviews need a good setup. And you have to work maybe even harder to communicate clearly, seem professional through a screen, project that confidence.
Zoom interviews are a massive help logistically, for sure. Okay, let's shift to the practical stuff. Making Singapore your actual place of work. You get selected by a hospital. How do you get the legal right to work there and live there?
Right. So if a hospital picks you, they become your sponsor for the employment pass. That's the main work visa in Singapore for professionals like doctors. It's your official permission to practice medicine there legally. The hospital does a lot of the paperwork, which is, a big weight off your shoulders.
That's good.
And our sources flag another really attractive benefit. Once you've got your employment pass, you can usually apply for a dependent pass.
Yeah.
That lets your spouse and kids join you in Singapore.
Oh, that's crucial for many people.
Absolutely. It's a huge factor for doctors thinking about moving their family. And Singapore is known for being safe, great infrastructure, good schools, very family-friendly. So this dependent pass isn't just about your job. It's about potentially moving your whole family, starting a new life there.
A major plus for anyone with family. Okay, now this next point, it's really important. Often a kind of aha moment for listeners. Career progression. What role can IMGs realistically expect when they first arrive and start practicing in Singapore?
Yes, this is super important to understand, and our sources really stress it. Helps manage expectations.
Right.
For most IMGs, the starting point in the Singapore system is usually as a resident physician, not directly as a consultant.
Okay, resident physician.
Right. Consultant roles, what many countries would call specialists. Those are typically reserved for doctors with very specific advanced training, usually from places like the UK, US, Canada, Australia. Plus, they usually need quite a few years of experience after specializing.
I see, so it's a different entry point.
Exactly. The path to Singapore is clear, but you need to know that for most, entry is structured. You start as a resident physician. Now, that doesn't mean you can't become a consultant there eventually, but for most IMGs, it means gaining experience within their system first. Maybe doing more local training, getting specific accreditations over time. It's a journey, involves ongoing development and fitting into their system.
Okay, let's switch gears to something that, let's face it, probably has a lot of you listening leaning in a bit closer. The money. Singapore is known globally for paying well, and our sources confirm this. What kind of pay are we talking about for a resident physician?
Yes, the financial side is definitely a big pull factor. For resident physicians, sources suggest a typical base salary between, say, 8,000 and 15,000 Singapore dollars a month.
Per month. Wow.
Yeah, it's a very solid income, especially when you factor in Singapore's income tax rates, which are relatively low compared to many Western countries.
Good point.
But it doesn't end with the base salary. The package often includes other things that really add up. Things like a housing allowance, which is a huge help in a city like Singapore where living costs can be high.
Definitely need that.
Variable pay, too, for things like night shifts or being on call. And then there's often a pretty substantial annual bonus. Our sources mentioned this bonus alone could be worth somewhere around 65,000 to 70,000 Singapore dollars, depending on performance, hospital results.
65 to 70,000 just for the bonus.
Yeah. So it's not just a competitive salary. It's a really attractive overall financial package.
That bonus figure is pretty eye-watering. So it's not just about the immediate cash flow. What about the longer-term picture? Quality of life, stability.
Exactly. The money's great, but what's often just as or even more compelling long-term is the stability aspect. Our sources consistently point out that working there long-term often paves the way to permanent residency. PR.
PR. That's the goal for many.
It's a total game changer for IMGs and their families. PR gives you much more security than just a work visa that needs renewing. You get rights closer to citizens, easier access maybe to housing, schools, some social benefits.
Yeah.
So if you zoom out, Singapore isn't just offering a job or even just a high salary. It's offering a potential long-term home, a career path, and a world-class system. A package that combines professional opportunity, great financial rewards, and personal stability, all in one of the safest, most efficient, most vibrant cities in the world. It's really about building a future.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it seems pretty clear. Building a medical career in Singapore as an IMG, definitely doable, but it needs careful planning, hitting those exact marks. You need that degree from a listed university, solid hands-on experience as a medical officer in an acute setting, prove your English is strong with those tests, get through the interviews, and then secure the employment pass. You'll likely start as a resident physician, yes, but the pay is genuinely impressive, and that path to PR offers real long-term stability. For you and your family, it's definitely not just another job. It looks like a really structured chance to boost your career globally.
It really is. And like we saw, every step has a reason behind it, right? All aimed at maintaining those high healthcare standards. One last piece of advice, something our sources kept mentioning that maybe gets underestimated: the English prep. Seriously, it often takes way longer than people think to hit those high scores. So, best advice, start early. Treat it seriously. Think about all these steps, the clear path, but also the tough requirements. What part of preparing for this journey for practicing medicine in Singapore feels like the biggest challenge? Or maybe, what feels most exciting to you right now? It's a